A bold idea came to Edmund while he was eating. Seeing that the guards had gone to the next cell, he hurriedly moved his own bed. Then he skillfully pried open the bricks on the wall, carefully entered the hole to observe. At that moment, the warden was checking the prisoner next door. He saw Faria lying motionless on the bed, so he asked the guards to lift up one of his feet. Then he took a torch and burned it, but Faria didn't respond. He had to stop. This guy was really sleeping too hard. Then Edmund overheard something. There's going to be a big operation at the prison, so the guards won't be checking in for another month. That's good news, because his hole has not been completely dug out yet, and Faria was pretending to be asleep to listen to the guards' conversation. And that's how they got the good news. So they started digging again. Since the prison was built on an island, their goal was to dig into the sea, so that when they escaped, they could swim to the sea completely out of sight of the guards. Although Faria had been digging for 14 years, but due to a miscalculation, he dug in the wrong direction. So now they have to change the direction and dig again. Both of them can dig half a meter a day, so in about 10 years they'll be able to escape. While they were worrying about how to move the dirt, the prison guards suddenly came to deliver food. Edmund hurried to hide in the corner. When he returned to his cell, he sat there for a long time thinking. Suddenly, a good idea came to him. So he took his bowl and told the guards that he had accidentally broken it. He needed a new one. The guards had no choice but to bring Edmund a new one, so they had a tool to deal with the dirt. But then something happened. One day, Edmund came to dig a hole as usual. The hole suddenly collapsed. He was crushed under a rock. Faria, who was sleeping, heard the commotion. He rushed in to help, but the walls of the cell were made of limestone. While he was lifting the stones to save Edmund, accidentally, he inhaled a lot of dust, but he insisted on rescuing Edmund. Fortunately, Edmund was not seriously hurt. They were so happy to have survived. After years of living together, they were like father and son, apart from digging holes every day. In his spare time, Faria taught Edmund everything he had learned. He knew that Edmund had been framed by his best friend, and right after his imprisonment, his wife married his best friend. That's why Edmund wanted to take revenge all the time. So Faria taught him this knowledge, in the hope that it would help him, but it didn't last long. The next morning, when Edmund was eating, suddenly he heard a cry for help from next door. He rushed over to check on him, and found Faria lying on the floor, struggling to breathe, cause he'd inhaled a lot of dust yesterday. Edmund took him to bed. Faria was in a bad way. He was obviously dying, and he seemed to know it. He asked Edmund to pry open a broken brick in the corner, and take out the parchment hidden inside. It's a treasure map. It shows the location of the Count of Monte Cristo's treasure. Faria was the Count's secretary when he was young. Unfortunately, the Count was murdered. That's why he was arrested. The assailants were after the Count's treasure, but they didn't know that Faria had the treasure map. Now he can't afford to keep it. He only hoped that Edmund would find it when he got out. Edmund put the map away. He went back to his cell. The next morning, he heard the guard's footsteps. Looking through a crack in the wall, he realized that Faria was dead. And then, the warden ordered Faria's body to be thrown into the sea.
Bury him after dinner. Come on, let's go eat.
After the guards left, Edmund carefully came out of the hole. He looked at Faria's body. He couldn't get over his grief for a long time. After all, they had spent almost 7 years together. Although they were not related by blood, Faria had always treated him like her own son. And now he's gone. But Edmund knew he had to pull himself together. Looking at the cold body, he suddenly had a bold idea. So he tore open the shroud and took out the body. Then he dragged Faria into his cell. Then he carefully placed him on the bed. Edmund cut off his own hair and wigged it on Faria's head. Then he covered him with a blanket, to disguise him as if he were sleeping. And when he was done, he sneaked into the body bag. Then he sewed the bag shut securely with a needle and thread. Not long after, the guards came back from dinner. They took the bag away without checking it. They soon arrived at the rooftop to prevent the body from floating. They tied a big iron ball to it. After doing all this, the guards moved the bag to the edge of the wall. Then they threw the body down. When it fell into the sea, Edmund took out his homemade dagger and cut open the bag, and got out as fast as he could. Every second now would determine whether he lived or die. He quickly untied the iron ball on his body, and swam towards the surface of the water. At that moment, the guards came to bring Edmund his food as usual, but found him lying on his bed, without moving. He thought Edmund was sleeping. Angrily, he opened the door and went in. But when he lifted the blanket, he was surprised to find Faria in bed. He immediately realized something was wrong, and called the warden. After seeing the body and the hair scattered on the floor, the warden instantly realized what was going on. He ordered the guards to move the bed, and remove the loose brick. They could never have imagined that these two men had dug out such a long passageway.
Well, don't just stand there! Run! Serve the cannon! Muster the guards!
But now they realized it was too late. Edmund had already swum to the shore. Although he managed to escape from the prison, but he had an even more difficult task ahead of him: revenge and finding the Count's treasure.